I'm a troublemaker. And so I decided to brand that as like, okay, I'm good trouble.
I love it. Has there been a piece that you've created that felt like particularly vulnerable or risky for you to share?
Yeah, so I talk openly about addiction in my own sobriety because I know for a fact that anytime I do a sobriety post, I get so many DMs, literally hundreds of messages from people that don't feel like they can talk about it publicly, but want someone to know that one, they are struggling, or two, that they just got sober and they want to talk to somebody about it.
You recently started posting on TikTok and YouTube after being resistant to video.
My goodness, for years, and I mean years, people have been saying, why don't you record videos? And I literally would be like, I don't want anything to do with TikTok. And there's so many great people on there that are giving out great advice about the workplace. But I will say what motivated me was the people that are giving fake advice, people that are out there like actually doing harm, giving out advice that have never worked in HR. So that is actually what motivated me to be like, you know what? I've been doing HR for 13 years. I need to start making videos.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me on the pod today, Jessica.
Hi, I'm so excited. This is going to be so fun.
Yes, it is. So let's get right into it. I heard that you're passionate about creating good trouble in the workplace. What does that mean to you?
So I get this from the famous civil rights leader that talks about trouble and good trouble, because a lot of times back in the day, people of color were branded as, you know, you're a troublemaker, you're like getting in trouble, all these things. But there is a such thing as good trouble. And to me, that means like justice and like doing things the right way. And sometimes you have to do good trouble because what you're doing goes against the grain. It goes against what society says you need to do. It goes against what your boss might say you need to do. But if the company culture is saying it's one thing and you point out that it's not, that's good trouble. You're going to get in trouble for that. And I am all about some good trouble. I'm okay with like taking the heat for things that I say, things that I do. And it has absolutely come up in my career that I'm a troublemaker. And so I decided to brand that as like, okay, I'm good trouble.
I love it. And I love embracing the things that people tell you to try to like silence you or minimize you and making that your brand. I love that.
Yeah.
So
I took that on. Like that is my persona now. It's like I'm not going to lie though, when people first started calling me a troublemaker, that hurt my feelings. Like I was like, I'm trying to do these things for employees, or I'm trying to advocate for myself, and you're saying that I'm a troublemaker. And then I decided to be like, okay, if that's what you think I am, I'll be it.
I'm still going to make trouble here. We're still going to get things done. I love that. So was there a defining moment in your career that you first made you realize like your voice needs to be heard beyond what your job description says?
Yes, I would say there were many times where I would be advocating for myself and I felt like people just thought it was all good. Like they would see me on LinkedIn and think like, oh, she seems to have it all together. Meanwhile, I'm like crying in the parking lot or feeling like I'm being undervalued or I'm being underpaid. And so finally, the more I grew in my career, especially when I became a people leader, I thought, I should be advocating. I should be talking about these things that have happened to me. So hopefully it doesn't happen to someone else. And so I decided to kind of like take a leap and be like, what if I start writing about this? And I will preface this by saying that by the time I was doing this, I was already a director. So I was already at a director level. I would not have felt comfortable doing and saying some of the things that I say if I was not at that level, because once I was there, it was kind of like, I'm not an individual contributor anymore. Now, I will say there's nothing wrong with being an individual contributor and starting to write. You should absolutely do that. But I did not feel comfortable with the role that I was in and the company that I was in to do that.
I love that you call that out because it's so easy for a lot of creators in our space to say like, yeah, just say what you need to say, blah, blah, blah. But we know the reality is there's some privilege in being in management where you can say things that other people can't. And like you said, it doesn't mean that if you're an individual contributor, you can't create content. You absolutely 100% should. But let's be real. There is a difference. We work in HR. We know there is a difference with what some people can say versus others, depending on their role in the organization. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah. And be mindful of it. Like, I don't want anybody to be, don't Don't look at me and go get fired. Okay, I can't pay your bills. I can't do it. So don't do what I do because there are consequences.
100%. I love that. I love that. And that's what we're all about here on the Workfluencer. Like, yes, say, be out there, build your personal brand, but remember, you need to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm. And I tell people this all the time because I see a lot of the stuff on LinkedIn where they're like, quit your job, be an entrepreneur. And people ask me all the time, like, do you want to do, your career coaching hidden gem, as your main job? And my response is no. That's not for me. That's not what I've been called to do. This is what I like to do on the side, but this is not my full-time job. Like, I want to continue to do my SVP of HR role and like do this as a passion. Maybe one day down the road that will change, but that's not where I am right now. And so it has been a tricky situation for me at some jobs, and I'm definitely open to going into it. But I definitely have had CEOs that were like, we don't like your content.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And I was going to get into that later, but since you brought it up, let's talk about that. Has there ever been a time where you've posted something and one of your bosses immediately called you and like, what, WTF?
Yes. It's happened several times. I actually had, and this is an interesting story because if I look back at it in a very different light than when I was in it. But I had a CEO one time that I had posted something, and this was right around the time where I felt, and I'm going to be honest, I'm just going to talk for myself. I felt like women's rights were under attack. And I went to a protest because I don't believe in just speaking about it. I believe in being in the street, being an activist, all these things. So I actually physically went to a protest, and I was interviewed at the protest by the local news. Okay, I don't turn down an interview. Okay. So I said, okay, I'm willing to talk about this. And so I said my personal views about women's rights and like women's bodies and all of these things. It ended up on the local news. It also ended up on LinkedIn. People were screenshotting it and sending it to my CEO and being like, ain't this your HR person? Like, do you know that she's doing this? Now, mind you, my CEO at the time also had his own personal brand, and his personal brand was like pushing the envelope as well. So he was on board. But I point this out to say that if he wasn't, I definitely think that I probably would have been fired because somebody else would have felt very differently about me being so vocal about this. Mind you, I'm talking about my own rights as a woman. I talked about myself and my own rights. And at the time I was living in the state of Texas. Take from that what you will. Okay. And so that is what was happening. I was in Dallas. I was at a protest, but I could absolutely see how I could have lost my job over that. So that's something that I say as a cautionary tale. Be mindful of what type of organization do you work for? I knew at the time that my CEO would have my back for this, but I can tell you right now, if I had been at my previous organization to that one, that would not have gone over well.
So important to call that out. And I totally get what you mean by you were in Texas. I live in Oklahoma, so I get it. I get exactly what you mean. I had 2 jobs here, and then I realized I have to work remotely. But yes, like you have to know where you work, and you have to know how far you can push things.
Yes.
So has your content style and voice like evolved since you first started sharing online?
Oh, absolutely. I started out very timid, I actually started my content just talking about what it was like to work in HR. I was not pushing the envelope in any way. I would just say, this is what my day to day is like, and this is what we're doing. In fact, one day I went and looked at my first post, and it was about like a team lunch, like something about food, because that's what I like, So it was very much not pushing the envelope in any way. And then I think the more comfortable I got, the more I started being like, oh, hey, just so you know, HR is looking at this, or, oh, hey, when you do interviews, don't do this, and giving more advice. And now it has morphed into what is it like to work in HR, giving advice, and also pushing other HR people on like, maybe we shouldn't be doing these things, or maybe we should treat people with respect, or maybe stop being the gatekeeper, like pushing my peers in a way, honestly, pushing myself too, to say things can be different. And why don't we try it?
That's really the point, I think, of putting yourself out there and creating a brand. And everyone likes to say thought leader. Yeah. Well, if you're not leading change, you're not a leader. No. You're just someone who writes content online. Yeah. So
you can't be a thought leader also if you haven't worked in HR in 10 years. I'm going to just say that.
Let's say that again. Let's say that again.
You cannot. I'm sorry about it, but you cannot be an HR thought leader if you have not worked in HR in like 10 plus years. I don't know what you're leading. Okay. I don't know what initiative you're talking about. You haven't been in the mud. You're not in the mud with us. Okay. I'm in the mud every day. I'm swimming around. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm, having the AI talks, having the people leader talk, that's what's going on day to day. And if you haven't had to do that, I don't want your leadership. That's just me.
Hey, have you subscribed? Let's fix that. It's the easiest way to support this show. Let's say someone's really thinking of making the leap to full-time creator. And I know that this is not what you do, but going back to what you're saying, 10 years later, they're successful, they're doing everything. How do they stay in the mud?
Yeah.
Because now they're doing this full time. They don't have time to go back and do a full-time HR job. How would you approach it if that were you someday?
I think if that were me someday, one thing I would be honest about that, because a lot of times I feel like there's a lack of transparency with when you were last working in the field. So I wouldn't shy away from that. If 10 years from now, I have not been doing this for 10 years, I will say this is from 2025. This is what I was doing in that time frame. I will not make it seem like I have still been actively doing these things, because that's not true. I also think there's some point of being a consultant, whether that's being fractional, doing something where you are still a part of it. Even if it's not your day to day, you're doing it once a quarter, you're still helping, even if you're volunteering, because there is something about giving your time back as well. So maybe there's a nonprofit that could use your experience, or an executive that could use your coaching. So still doing some of the work is what I would be doing.
Love that. Also, I'll add to it, I hope you have friends in the industry still.
Yeah.
Talk to your friends. What are they going through? Like, tell them like, hey, I do it. I haven't been recruiting for 2 years now. And sometimes I call my friends and I'm like, hey, I have some time. Let's jam. Let's source.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly. Why not? Help. Yeah.
So in your content journey, just switching gears a little, has there been a piece that you've created that felt like particularly vulnerable or risky for you to share?
Yeah, so I talk openly about addiction and my own sobriety. And when I first told somebody that I was going to post, and my original post was about my 1 year sobriety. And I said, I'm going to do a post about it. I'm going to talk about what I've been through. And immediately, and I actually respect, this was my own family. These are my own friends. They were trying to protect me, and they said, absolutely not. Do not do this. This is going to harm you. This is going to harm your career. And I understand where they were coming from, because there's something to be said about secrecy and like keeping things close to the chest. But for me, I knew that if I told everyone, if I put it out there and I told everyone, I would also be holding myself accountable. And I needed accountability in my journey. So I decided I'm going to tell everybody. I'm going to tell everybody that I am sober. I want to remain sober. And one way to do this is to talk about it and to also help other people. Because I know for a fact that anytime I do a sobriety post, I get so many DMs, literally hundreds of messages from people that don't feel like they can talk about it publicly, but want someone to know that, one, they are struggling, or two, that they just got sober and they want to talk to somebody about it. So those posts are my most vulnerable. They are also like my most popular posts, talking about that I am now 5 years sober. This is something that is very important to me. It is something that has absolutely changed my life and my journey and the trajectory of my life. But it was vulnerable to make those posts, to say, I have struggled. I have struggled with addiction, and now I am sober.
I love that you share that. And I love that you get such great response, because I cannot relate to that 100%. I'll be honest. But for like health reasons, I've recently stopped drinking, and I realize how, especially at HR conferences, by the way, and I'm going to call this out, you go to an event and you say like, hey, can I have a mocktail? And it's like,
oh yeah,
oh my gosh. And it's like, a mocktail, and it's like, guys, literally serve the same thing without the alcohol. Like, you can do it. This isn't a big ask that I'm doing. But now I imagine if this were someone who was struggling with addiction, dealing with it, why are they like now everyone at the bar knows that I want a mocktail
Yeah.
as if I asked for, I don't know what, that
Yeah.
doesn't exist. So I love that you talk about it and that people can have someone that they can talk to and relate to, because I was at a recent conference in Vegas and I was thinking, imagine if I were in recovery, how this would feel, how I just got treated by this person at this event.
Yeah, no, that has absolutely happened to me. And one of the things that I've actually started to do, so I want to say this to any listener that is going through something or wants to start drinking. One of the things when you fill out your conference, like attendance and like they ask you for any accommodations, one of the things that I have personally started doing is saying, I need an accommodation. I need mocktails to be served. I want there to be non-alcoholic options. And it has actually worked out for me where I've actually had someone contact me from that being like, we saw what you said. We are going to have like non-alcoholic beer. We're going to have these options for you. So I now treat it as an accommodation. I want an accommodation. Okay.
I love that. And I'm absolutely going to join you in doing that as well.
Yeah.
I love that.
It makes a difference.
So now let's go back to talking a little about content. And I'm so excited to ask you about this. So you recently started posting on TikTok and YouTube after being resistant to video. Like, what finally got you to hit record?
Oh my goodness. For years, and I mean years, people have been saying, why don't you record videos? And I literally would be like, I don't want anything to do with TikTok. Like, that's for the young kids. And I'm not going to say how old I am, but I will say that I have a 21-year-old niece who very much is into TikTok. And when I decided I was going to do TikTok, I had to call her and be like, can you walk me through this? Can you give me a tutorial? So I say that to say I felt like I was resistant, and maybe it was like a generational thing. Like, I'm an older millennial. And so in my head, this was like a Gen Z, like, this doesn't have anything to do with me. I don't want to do a dance video. But at the same time, I was on TikTok, but just as a lurker. Like, I was just on there observing other people's content. And there's so many great people on there that are giving out great advice about the workplace. But I will say what motivated me was the people that are giving fake advice, people that are out there like actually doing harm, giving out advice that have never worked in HR, that have never been in a leadership position, that are giving advice about how to interview or how to get around this or how to game the system that I felt is harmful. So that is actually what motivated me to be like, you know what? I've been doing HR for 13 years. I need to start making videos.
Yes. And we need more voices of people who actually know what they're talking about, because the confidence out there is astounding. That's the nice way I can say it.
That's so nice.
So what surprised you the most about like putting yourself out there on video versus other formats that you've done?
I think for me, it's really interesting because I love to write. So writing for me comes very natural. Like, I can write a post, people laugh. I can write posts all day long because I'm consuming content all day long. So something will spark my mind. I'll write a post about it. Like, I have hundreds of posts in a Google Doc that are just ready to be posted because it's just something that I see. I can't tell you my first video. I don't know how many of the times I recorded it. Okay. Like, I don't know how to edit. So it's either it's right or I have to do it all over again. So that's something I need to work on is editing. But I think what gets me is how long it takes me to get it done versus I could write something quickly and post it and be done. So I think the process, I'm still quite frankly trying to understand how to do it and be efficient. I don't know. Like, I'm still recording content and being like, is this good enough or is this not? But I'm kind of going with it because I think you have to go through the stumbles to get to something that's like a great product, quote unquote, if that's how you want to go about it. I also think there's some vulnerability in being like, I have, almost 80,000 followers on LinkedIn and I have like maybe 100 people on TikTok. You know what I mean? And that's okay. Like, I'm learning, I'm figuring it out as I go.
Why haven't you brought any of your videos or have you to LinkedIn since LinkedIn is pushing video now?
It is. And so I have, like, I recently, all the stuff that is on my TikTok, I have now brought over to LinkedIn, which I actually found to be a little scary because the stuff I'd said on TikTok, I was like, oh, this is nothing compared to what they say on here. And then I put the videos on LinkedIn and I was kind of like, I don't know. So I definitely want to cross-pollinate. I was talking to I'm friends with somebody who does primarily TikTok and wants to get into LinkedIn. So we were collaborating because I'm like, oh, I know LinkedIn. I could teach you all the tricks and, all the things to do. So I'm trying to learn and also be open to like getting feedback from other people.
Quick break. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but don't know where to begin, I've got something for you. I'm letting women in TA, HR, or employer brand take over the Workfluencer podcast for one episode.
I am so excited to be able to do a podcast takeover.
And I'm joining Rhona Pierce today as a guest host. Rhona is the creator of the Workfluencer podcast.
You get a behind-the-scenes look at how I plan and produce everything. I handle all the editing, and you walk away with a fully edited episode, social clips, and the audio to launch your own pod if you want. If that sounds like your kind of test drive, head over to workfluencerpodcast.com to apply. How did the videos work on LinkedIn? And I know it's a difference in the audience size and everything, but like, how did your audience take to your TikTok videos?
They really liked it, which is so funny because I got way more comments on the video than I normally get on like my written post, which is really, really interesting. And to your point, LinkedIn is leaning more towards video. So I definitely think it's something that I want to continue to do and continue to grow. I don't see myself like kind of tailoring like to TikTok and LinkedIn. I think I'm recording one video and it's going on both.
Yeah, and that works for a lot of people, and honestly, a lot of people do it. I think there's very few times where I'm like, okay, this is definitely not a LinkedIn thing.
Yeah.
But in the type of content that we do in our space, I think there's a lot of opportunity to like just cross post.
Yeah, absolutely. I will absolutely be doing that because, to be quite frank, I just don't have the patience.
Now let's talk a little about like the actual process of you juggling a 9 to 5. And I know you have 2 sets of twins.
I do.
Babies, like they're under 3, right?
Yeah, I have 4 kids under the age of 2. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. And you create content. So can you walk us through like what a typical content creation day looks like for you?
Yeah. So it varies so much, and it varies because, to be quite frank, I'm still trying to figure it out. So most days I'm always writing. So on a typical day, I will absolutely be writing 2 to 5 posts or ideas of posts that I'm going to be posting on LinkedIn. So that's happening every day. And then on days where I'm going to record content, I've yet to record content where I wasn't like made up and, like my hair is done and stuff, but I'm going to get there. Okay. I'm going to get to the point where I'm just doing it in a top knot. But for now, it's a whole production, with the lights and I bought all the gadgets from Amazon that I need. And normally I try to batch it because, to your point, I have 4 kids, so I don't have time to be recording content every day. So I normally absolutely will record, 5 to 7 videos in one day, just like come up with the topics. And I pull my topics from things that have done well on LinkedIn. So if it's done well on LinkedIn, I then say, okay, this is a topic I can use and create a video about it. And sometimes, I tried to script. I tried to do like a teleprompter. Couldn't do it. Hated it. Didn't like the way that I was looking. Like it felt very like forced. Honestly, I would get lost on the teleprompter. I just couldn't do it. So I have now decided that when I do my videos, I just start with a topic and I just talk. So I just straight talk to the camera, give advice, talk like I'm talking to a friend, and that goes over better for me. I have seen other people do some scripted content that I actually am really interested in doing. I just have not been able to do it yet. So I definitely batch content. Like as much as I can, I put it all together and then go back and post it at different times. Even to the point of like going to change outfits, like recording like 4 videos in one outfit and then go upstairs, change and come back down. Yeah, I definitely have done it.
I love the evolution that you'll see, and you'll see this. And I hope when you get there, you'll remember me. Before I used to have like the different outfits. So like that door that you probably can't see in the frame is my closet for my video clothing. And it used to have a ton of things. Now, if you open it, there's a ton of tops just like this one.
Yep.
Literally, I only wear black, and like release yourself from
I love
thinking
it.
that you need to change. That way, like the less barriers you have to going and creating the content, the less you can make excuses. And I'm going to plug this, which I really hope they sponsor me one day. But the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 camera, which I wish I had mine right here. I probably do. I've recently discovered that in their app, you can record and it puts makeup on you. And I discovered it because I accidentally forgot to do my makeup and did a full batch 10 videos. And I was like, oh my gosh, I look like I'm dead. And then, my lips were and the Osmo Pocket, I saw this thing that said beautify. I'm like, ooh, what's this? And it did lipstick.
Oh,
it did
wow.
and it looked just like me. Those videos are out there and no one's like, oh my gosh, you went and got, because I never glam up. So yes, there's things out there where you'll get so comfortable and I was like, this game over. If I don't have to do a full face of makeup, it's on. There's no excuse to ever not create a video from now on.
100%. And to your point about the barriers, for me, it's just a time management thing. Because to your point, right now, if I'm not with my kiddos, I'm working, and I work for a Canadian company. So the time difference works in my favor. But to the point, I still have to find time to record. And normally that's in the afternoons or when my kids on the weekend are asleep. So if they take a 2-hour nap, sometimes I'll run into my office and be like, okay, I'm going to record some content right now. But also I'm tired a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a working parent. I'm tired. So there are some videos where I'm just listen, this is all I got to say. Bye.
As long as the content's good, people will watch it. TikTok, people will have comments on how you look no matter what.
Yes.
But that's just TikTok. LinkedIn, I think people are nicer.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't had any, none of the videos got any of those type of comments that they got on TikTok.
Let's not even talk about TikTok for now. So how has showing up publicly shaped the way that you lead internally?
That's a great question. It's interesting because I know that my team listens to the podcast and they read my posts and all that stuff. And I actually had someone on my team tell me one time that she was listening to a podcast and she was trying to decipher if I was talking about the team, and I wasn't, but so it's something that I am very mindful of, because I definitely want my team to feel like they could talk to me about anything, that they trust me. So none of the things that I'm going to talk about public right now are about my team. So I talk about things that have happened before or past organizations. So that's something that you have to keep in mind, that when I'm talking about my current company, it's only talking about these are the roles that we're hiring for, or this is why you would want to join the team. I do not talk about wherever I currently work at that time. Once I leave, it's a different story. Past organizations, it's a different thing, but it's something to be mindful of because my peers are reading my content. And so that has come up before where someone thought I was talking about them. There's been a timing of a situation that I posted something, and the timing of when it was going to happen to somebody at this organization, it just happened to be that way. Because I also do the post, the draft post. So there's posts that are going to go up 3 months from now that are already set. So I had no clue that the timing of this was going to align. And it did cause some issues for me because this person thought I was talking about them. And it was just such a horrible coincidence that this post that I had written 3 months prior, and it was the same situation. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of what's going on in your organization and stay away from that when you're posting publicly, because I don't want employees to feel like I'm talking about them, because I'm not. So it is something you have to be very, very mindful of.
Do you feel comfortable sharing how you handle that specific situation, just for anyone who might find themselves in that situation?
I was just super transparent. And I told them that hey, I actually pulled up my LinkedIn and showed them how far out my posts were. And I was like, this is how far out I am posting. So this post was written 3 months prior. And I showed them the document because I wanted it to be clear that this is how far out I'm going. And they were like, okay, get it. Because I didn't want to lose this person's trust. And so I felt the need to really just show them what's going on in the background. And they don't post on LinkedIn. So they had no real insight that you could even do the timing and do the schedule. So even to just show them that this is how I do this, they were like, okay, I get it.
I love that. Transparency always wins.
Yeah.
And it's so good that as an executive, you are mindful of that. Cause yes, when you are leading inside organizations, we want people to trust us, especially when we work in HR. We want our team, we want our peers, we want everyone in the organization to trust us. We have enough of a perception problem.
Yes.
We don't need to bring it upon us. So that's really good advice to not talk about your current situations with your current employer.
No, but my pro tip is start writing. Okay. Definitely keep you a little notepad of things that, are future content, but don't post it.
Do you encourage your team or your peers to create content of their own?
Absolutely. So my current team, once a month, we do like a lunch and learn where we each go around and teach somebody or teach the whole team something. And it can be professional, it can be personal, all that stuff. The very first one I did with my current team was about personal branding and teaching them how to do LinkedIn. And a shout out to Tessa, who is my recruiter, and Kristen. They both took that on and have ran with it and are posting content all the time. So absolutely, I encourage. I've definitely been pushing my peers, but they are a little bit more resistant to posting. But absolutely, I think it's important, especially for my recruitment team.
I love that. And a lot of companies are embarking on this employee advocacy and workfluencers, might I say, because they're seeing the value of having their team out there, their personal brands, and just we can talk, that's a whole other episode of all the benefits of that. But what's been your experience like balancing company guidelines with authentic personal expression when it comes to like, okay, now you're encouraging your team to create content. They might get in trouble if they post something that crosses the line. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, I will say the thing about my current employer and the last 3 employers, it's all been startup. So it's different in a startup. So where I'm at right now, it's very much everybody post, do whatever you need to do, like, keep it respectful. But I have been at a previous organization where they had very strict, the marketing team would send out like guidance. They would send out like, hey, they would say, hey, we're going to launch this product. Here are 3 things that, we would like for you to post. I personally was very, very resistant to it. And whenever they would ask me to do it, I'd be like, I will post, but I'm going to post in my own voice. Like, I'm not taking your copy. I'll take your suggestions, but I will not take your copy. I'm going to make it my own. That didn't go well. I don't work there anymore. So, but there are companies that would prefer you to post it word for word what they want you to post. And I personally don't want to do that, but I know other people that do, and that's fine. So I think it's a personal decision if you want to post that. However, statistics show that doesn't do as well when every single person from the company posts the same content. Like it's not personal in any way. So it does not go well.
I posted about that probably sometime last year, and I don't remember the exact thing that I said, but basically it was like, we can tell. Oh, I was saying like, it's giving hostage situation.
Yes.
And it was one of my top posts. And it was funny because I just like wrote it because that day I had seen a large company I had worked at before, and they literally everyone had posted the same thing. And it's like, I know these people. One, this is not how you talk. And what a coincidence that everyone has the same post with different pictures because they got to choose their pictures. And it was funny that the people that had been posting that inspired my post were some of the ones that were liking and loving my content the most. I'm like, it's giving hostage situation. This is not helping. We all can see right through it. Why are you even wasting time? And they have a full-blown employee advocacy program. I'm like, no.
And you can just see right through it. It sounds robotic. It sounds like AI. And so it just never goes over well. And to your point, it's giving read off of this paper hostage situation.
So, have you ever got some like feedback or response to your content that like fundamentally changed how you approach creating?
Yes, in a positive way. I've had so many people reach out to me and say that they either wanted to like my content or wanted to comment on my content, and they did not feel like that they could, which makes me sad. Actually, makes me very sad that you couldn't even like something because your manager might see it or somebody at your company might see it and feel some type of way. So every time somebody messages me one of those messages, I think I'm going to keep speaking up. I'm going to keep doing this because there are so many people out there that cannot speak up for fear of losing their job, for fear of retaliation. And I'm not in that situation. I can say whatever I want. And so I'm going to continue to do it.
Have you ever gotten suggestions from people in the DMs was like, hey, have you ever thought about posting about this?
All the time. All the time. Daily, somebody sends me like, this is what's happening with me at my job, or can you believe this? And I actually have, like, with their permission, I'll be like, listen, you will have no association with this. I'll make it clear. But I have absolutely, when people give me permission, been like, this is a story to tell.
Love it. Yeah. Some of the best content that I've posted has come from someone in the DMs like, look, I can't say this, but I really, really want to say this.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, what should I do? I'm like, with your permission, I will tell this story.
Yeah. And I will absolutely tell the story on your behalf. I've done that a lot, but yes, I get DMs all the time from people that are going through, especially because one of my, post that went viral was about like a workplace bullies. And so that has struck a chord with people that I get a lot of DMs about bullies.
So good. It is a thing, and it's a thing that no one talks about. What's the like for professionals listening who are actually scared to post because of their 9 to 5, what advice would you give them?
I would say lean towards what brings you joy. So you do not have to be controversial. You don't have to be spicy. My voice is very like assertive in your face. But like I said, I didn't start out that way. I started by just saying, this is what it's like to work in HR. So you could do this is what it's like to be a marketer. This is what it's like to be in sales. Like you could literally just start there and morph into whatever you want it to be, but you can decide what you want your tone to be. This is something that when I do personal branding workshops, I tell people, you decide when someone sees your photo or sees your name, what do you want them to feel? You can decide that. You can want them to feel joy. You can want them to feel whatever. When somebody sees my name, sees my photo, I want them to feel like fiery. Like, I don't know what she's going to say, but it's going to be fire. That's how I want people to feel.
That's such great advice. And it's true. Yes. It's really you controlling, the narrative. And it sounds like a little bad, but it's like, no. This is what I want to be known for. This is what I want people to feel. And whether I say something or not, because it's 2025 and the internet exists, people are going to make their own opinion. So let me be the one to shape what they should be thinking.
Absolutely. You own the narrative. So you can make it whatever you want to be. And also, I just want to say you can also change it. You can start in one place and end up somewhere totally different. So it is okay to start in like a soft era if that's what's best for you right now. And then you can get over here to good trouble if that's where you want to go.
Yes. And like, so good that you said that because so many people stay stuck on it's like, oh no, I can't. You absolutely can change. Yeah. And you can change your topics. You can change your tone. You can change your formats. Really, it's all about evolving. And most people don't even remember what you posted. And and I always tell, I've been recently saying this story a few months back. I was just like creative burnout at the beginning of this year. And I could not create, like I sat there, I couldn't create a new podcast episode, a new video, a new post. It just wouldn't flow. So what I did was, because I do this for a living, so I still need to, the bank isn't like, oh, sorry, you're not being creative today. I still need to pay bills. I reposted things from last year or from the year before. And some of the people, and like looking back, because I have access to looking back, some of the people who are like, oh my gosh, this is so good, hadn't thought about this way, had said the same thing last year. No one remembers your post. You're the one that remembers them. No 100%. One remembers them.
Anything, I always tell people, anything 6 months and older, just repost it. You don't have to change a single word. You don't have to do anything. Or what you could do, and I've done this with my content, is anything 6 months or older. Maybe somebody said something in the comment that sparked an idea or something like that. You can rework it, but absolutely repost content.
Yes. And I will add a link to this, and full transparency, an affiliate link to this in the show notes. But I use a tool called Creator HQ by Jay Klaus. It's a Notion operating system. And what I love is that you put your post in there as you plan them, and it has a repurposing calendar, and it tells you in 6 months, you can go to that calendar, and it does it for like 3, 6, and 12 months. And you can look, it's like, ooh, I posted this. Let me go look at it back. And to your point, I look at the comments, and then you can reshare it either as is or add a little more, because from the comments, from the conversations, you learn more and you can add to it. So I'll add that to the show notes, but it's an amazing, amazing tool.
Yeah, I need to get that.
I have an affiliate link that I will share with you. So we've come to my absolute favorite part of the show. It's my favorite segment, and I hope it's everyone's favorite segment soon. It's called Plead the Fifth. So I will ask you 3 questions. You can plead the fifth once, but only once. And you're not going to know the questions ahead of time. You'll know as you go. So use it wisely.
Okay.
All right. First question. What's the biggest lie on your own resume or LinkedIn profile?
Oh, God. Ooh. Probably something about being a team player. Yeah, probably something about I'm a good team player. I'm not. Okay. I like to do things by myself, and everybody else can take the credit, but I'd rather do it by myself.
All right. Next question. Have you ever shared job search advice that you knew wasn't universally true, but would go viral anyway?
Yes, in that I have told people that, cover letters are fan fiction and they're trash, but I've written them for people. So if you pay me, I'll write it for you and I'll talk about it.
I love this. I love this. Okay. Last question. If you could cancel one creator and get away with it, who would it be?
Plead the fifth. Okay. Great job. Honey. Not today.
All right. All right. I should have added that one first. I was like, I need to change the order of these. So I've really enjoyed this conversation. Is there anything about what we've talked about or in general that you think listeners need to know that I haven't asked you?
The only other thing I would say is that you can start writing and then wait until you're ready to post. So I know a lot of people that feel like they have to write and immediately post, and that's not true. You can just get it off of your chest, get your experience out there. To me, writing is almost therapeutic, especially when I was in situations where I felt undervalued or that I couldn't speak up freely. I would write about those experiences. And even if I wasn't posting them, that's a place to start. So even if you just simply open a Google Doc and start writing down your experience, that when you are ready, whenever that is, whether that's months or a year from now, you will have content. So that's what I would say. Start there. Just start writing.
Love it. How can listeners connect with you?
On LinkedIn daily. I love LinkedIn. It's my go-to social media platform, which my niece finds to be her. Like, she's like, LinkedIn, really? I'm like, yes, love LinkedIn. Okay. Jessica D. Winder. And then I actually just started a newsletter called The Corporate Cheat Code. So that's going to be coming out weekly. So those are the 2 places that I would say. Also, I'm on TikTok, obviously, but bear with me with my videos. Okay.
Tell us a little more about your newsletter. I want to hear more about it.
Yeah, so I actually literally just posted my first one today. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while, that I have a newsletter on LinkedIn, but I wanted to convert it to a different platform and kind of be able to talk a little bit more freely. So I started it. It's called The Corporate Cheat Code, giving insight into like how to interview, how to get a promotion, all the things that I have personally been through or coached people through and how to do it. So think of it as your cheat code, your secret HR in your pocket on teaching you how to get around the system.
Perfect. Amazing. I've loved this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on the pod today.
Absolutely. This was so wonderful.
Thanks so much for listening. If you're enjoying the Workfluencer pod, share it with someone who's changing how we talk about work, or who should be. And hey, if this episode gave you ideas or inspiration, leave us a 5-star review. Reviews help other listeners find us, and honestly, it makes my day. Workfluencer is produced by Perceptible Studios. Learn more about how we can help you use video to attract, engage, and retain qualified talent at perceptiblestudios.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll chat with you next week.